Hey guys, Kenny here again with In the Pocket, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the KME Sharpening system. I already tried to do a video of this and I could not get the file to transfer, and I've been talking about it forever, and sorry for teasing you about it and not doing it for so long, but I'm trying to do it here and just do it simple and shorter. But what I'm going to be doing here is actually sharpening this guy, which I'm going to be doing a video coming up here, and I need you guys to give me some input on what you want me to do, because this knife, I'm not happy with the coating on it. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see, but the coating is absolutely horrible. Yeah, it's gonna be hard to show, especially with the lighting right now, but this coating is just, it's coming off bad, and actually I just have this feeling that this 20 CV is, maybe there was a problem with the heat treat, or the steel, it seems a little soft for 20 CV, and I don't know, I've been sharpening it, having to strop it a lot, and actually I think more than my 20 CV 940. I feel like this, not only that, but it chips. I've had chips in this steel, so I think they may have overheated it or something, but definitely noticing this is not as good, this steel on this Griptilian, mini Griptilian. But the coating's also coming off. I think I'm gonna eventually just go ahead and call Benchmade and have them replace this blade and just see if they'll put a non-coated blade on it for me. I just want the satin blade. I don't want the coating anymore. So I'm gonna see if they'll do that for me, but before I do that, I want to test the steel. Sorry, I kind of went on a tangent there, but I want to test it. I want to see what 20 CV can do, at least this 20 CV. Maybe there is something wrong with it, but I'll sharpen it again and try and get all that bad steel off, and then we'll see what it does. But, you know, give me some input, see what you want me to try, because I am going to replace this blade, so I want to test it a little bit. But anyways, sorry, what this is really about is the KME, and I'm going to apologize in advance because my voice is not very appeasing right now. It's actually, I feel like I've had allergies really bad the last month, and now I don't know if I'm getting a cold or what, but my nose is really stuffed, so I'm sorry about my voice and the hacking throughout. But alright, I'm gonna try and keep this short. Here's my kit. The regular kit comes with all these parts, you know, your normal, even comes with the Sharpie, these stones, the 140, the 300, the 600, and the 1500. These are KME Sharpening stones, Gold Series, and they do work excellent, and they seem to be holding up really well. Very good stones. So those are what come with it, and then I did get one kangaroo strop, which is now kind of like pretty beat up, and I'll go into more of that later. But yeah, so I got that to begin with. Then I got the 50 grit and the 100 grit, the Beast and the 100 grit, which I would recommend to anyone who's going to be reprofiling. You're gonna have to get that. And then I have the Belgian blue and Coticule, both Belgian stones from Gritomatic. And I'll talk to you a lot more about these. And then I have some Gritomatic strops that are a good budget aftermarket type thing you can get for the KME. And these are only like 12 or 13 bucks on Amazon, I think. And they work just fine. It's just leather strop. It's a different thickness than the stones, but so are these Gritomatic stones. When it's a different thickness, it's no big deal. You just have to change the angle and make sure you're still getting the right angle. And maybe sharpie your blade again and make sure that the angle is the same. But it's not that big of a deal. I've heard people in comments say like, oh, it's a different thickness, you can't use it. And it's like, yeah, you can. You just have to pay attention to where you're changing the angle. So when I'm changing from the 1500 to the Coticule, I just sharpie my blade edge again and then just change the angle and make sure I'm clearing all the Sharpie with one fluid motion. Excuse me, from edge to... you're going to have to excuse me while I blow my nose. Sorry about that. Yeah, so you're just going to have to make sure as you switch stones that your angle is correct. And with the strops as well, though the strops aren't as critical. Alright, so moving along, I'm going to go ahead and talk about this. I did upgrade that. It does come with this, just this on the end. You can get these on Amazon or eBay. It's just a 1/4 inch thread, 1/4 20 thread knob, and I think I got like 20 of these for like $4. I couldn't find them. The one was like $8 shipping, and I'm like, whatever. But if you want these guys, maybe hit me up. I could probably just ship you one for pretty cheap, and I don't really need to get much out of it, so hit me up if you need one of these. I have a bunch. Yeah, so other than that, what I would say about this whole system in general and why you might want the KME and why I got the KME, this is what I want to talk about is I have a lot of knives in super steels. I have some hard steels to sharpen, and my personal sharpening skills aren't amazing. You know, I was a carpenter and I sharpened my chisels and I sharpened a lot of things, but I didn't carry knives as much back then. I used X-Acto knives and stuff like that more, and I wasn't as into it. Now I am. I just happened to get into it later, and I have all these super steels and my sharpening skills aren't as good as they need to be. I mean, I could do it, but it's going to take me longer, and I'm going to make a mess of things a little bit. So in order to just make it easy on myself, I went ahead and got the KME knowing I researched and saw what was right for me, you know, between this and the Wicked Edge and the Edge Pro and all those things. And I found this with the price, it fit, you know, I could get aftermarket things pretty easily. It fit me. So I got this, and I'm not at all disappointed. I'm so happy that I got it. It's a great system. It's built very well. You know, it's just, you know, to get the consistency in sharpening, I'm gonna stay on topic here, but this is, you know, the consistency of knowing the angle that you're gonna get is exactly the same, and you can, if you even take notes, you can get it to the same consistency each time and know where you put the knife each time, and you can get it pretty close to the same every time. And that kind of consistency for me is what I look for, you know, in a tool, or the things to keep my tool sharp. So, you know, I definitely feel like this was the perfect system for me. I mean, the Edge Pro seems cool, but I don't like how you have to hold the knife, because if you move at all, you're going to change, and, you know, if your hand starts getting tired, I have carpal tunnel, you know, I want something that'll hold it in place. So this worked perfect for me, and it's pretty easy to flip back and forth, you know. I don't have a knife in here, but it's really easy to actuate. So I do love that, and this is very smooth. So these are the things that got me onto the KME over other ones, like the Lansky, you know. It's just a little rickety for me. This is much smoother, more precise, more expensive, obviously, but yeah, it's just way better product. So, I mean, the consistency, and it's great for testing as well, for doing these videos. If I'm going to be testing steels, I want to be able to know that I'm getting the same exact edge on every one. And, you know, my sharpening skills by hand aren't as good, so I wouldn't get that consistency. And even the best in the world, you know, still aren't going to get the consistency of this clamping system. I mean, yeah, they might get just as sharp edges, but the consistency, knowing you're getting the exact same thing for each knife, it's a little bit easier in this system, I feel. But you guys might you guys might slam me for that, you know. Yeah, hand sharpening, I understand it can get really sharp edges as well. And I'm getting better, so, you know, eventually I'll probably be able to make some wicked edges on my own, but this, you know, I can make it sharp, don't get me wrong, but to get that hair whittling and, you know, with S110, yeah, I'm not there. So that's why I got this, and that's why I love this system. I'm going to talk about some of the pros of the system in general. I'll go into more of the stones, of the Gritomatic stuff too, but I'm going to talk about the system first, then I'll go into more of the stones. The pros of this system, it's got great smoothness. This is awesome. You know, the way this works is amazing. I will say you do have to watch, because just the dust and your fingers touching the knife blade and touching you're gonna get steel dust on the rod, and that gets in here. What I would say is you do have to clean this out pretty often, you know, every other knife or whatever. And you also have to wipe this down and oil it. I just put a little bit of mineral oil or something on there, even some blue lube or whatever, and it actually smooths it out really nice, and you don't get as much squeaking and noises and stuff. So that's one thing I do. But this is super smooth. Everything in the motion is very smooth and very consistent. The clamp is very rock solid, you know, like the way they do this with the balls into a, dude, it fits so perfectly and solid, and you can adjust your tension here. So when you have light knives and you don't need that much tension to keep it from rocking, this doesn't rock at all. And you see, I'm moving the whole system before I move this, but with those heavier knives, they'll pull it easier, so you just tighten up the tension here, and super easy to use, very easy to use and to flip around. It's very, very solid in angle and everything, and getting that right angle, and also very easy. So A+ on the way they constructed that, and even the way the handle's connected. Everything in this is super solid. I wish the angle went lower. These jaws are a little wide. That's the only con I have. I'll get more into that, but you know, I saw Cedric and Outdoors, Cedric and Ada, Pete, flipped this upside down, and it, you know, he got the angle lower. But still, this, you know, you can get it lower on a wide blade, but these jaws are still a little wide on the short blades, because they'll hit this before they touch the blade edge when this is too low. But I am going to probably flip this upside down like he did, just to get a shallower angle. On top of that, I will say that this base is very nice and sturdy. The base is very nice. The one thing I'll say is the looseness of the way this fits. I just wish they had done like a metal insert. I mean, it's not that bad, but it's just me being super critical. It's a little loose. Maybe they did that by design, but I don't know. I feel like it could be tighter. I feel like a metal sleeve instead of a plastic one would have just fit snugger. But anyways, yeah, just it's really just a nitpick, because the system works great. Everything's made excellent, and you know, as a carpenter myself, I look at every little bit, every little thing. They machined it very well. Everything is done spectacular. I mean, I can't have no complaints on the way they constructed everything. It's a nice piece of machinery, or well, not machinery, but just a great hand tool. And I guess you could call it machinery, but Very well done. Very well done. Nice piece of wood. Everyone's different. It's just handmade. Very well done. And going on from there, it does come with this nice travel case, which is, you know, this is nice to just be able to take anywhere. The one thing I'll say on this is that it's a little soft. It's not a really hard plastic, and you can hear it. You can hear it popping and stuff. It's just not very rigid. It's not a Pelican case, but I mean, what do you expect? It's $200, and you're getting all this other stuff too with it. It's still a good deal, but it's a nice case to have, and it's very sturdy. I mean, it does have locking, but if someone wanted to get into this, they're just gonna break it. I could probably cut this with one of my knives, but it's nice. It's a very nice case. I'm not, again, just nitpicking on something that's just a very nice product. So, in saying that, the Beast and the 100 grit, I would recommend for anyone who has super steels that you're going to be reprofiling. I'd say just get these. They'll save you a bunch of time. But I will say, don't go nuts with the 50 if you don't want to spend a bunch of time. If you're going to a mirror polish, just be ready, because this is going to put some deep scratches, some pretty deep scratches in your steel. And you're going to have to spend some time with the 100 grit to get those out, and then, you know, all the succeeding grits. But yeah, other than that, I mean, the normal kit would be fine for most people if you don't have super steels. 140 is just fine to reprofile most steels. But yeah, then the 300, 600, and 1500 grit, all great stones. Going into the Gritomatic, I'm going to talk about the Gritomatic. You know, I feel like it saves some money to go with these aftermarket with the Gritomatic stones. And you get some different kinds of materials, like the Belgian stones. KME doesn't offer these, so it's a different approach at getting the same result, essentially. Or maybe a different result. I'm sure there's a different edge that comes off of these compared to, you know, the strops, like getting the different micron strops to achieve a mirror edge, or in getting the lapping films. You know, it's gonna give you different results, I'm sure, different, you know, keennesses of the edge, and I'm sure you're getting a different result. But in the end, they're both mirror edges. They're both very keen, probably hair whittling, and I mean, I'm super impressed with the edge I get with this system, doing these stones. But I'm using a Belgian Coticule from Gritomatic and the Belgian Blue. You guys can let me know if you want me to do a separate video about these, because it gets kind of complicated with these stones. The site tells you that the Belgian Blue is I believe a 2 to 4,000 grit, and then the Belgian Coticule is like a 10 to, or not 8 to 10,000, or 8 to 12,000 or something. But I don't find that with my experience. And then I read more into it, and this is what I get from it, and this is what I've gotten from my experience. So I read about it, and the Coticule is a, you know, there's a lot of misconceptions on the Coticule. When the Coticule has just water on the surface, and you are just using the micron of the garnets, because there are these things called garnets in, you know, the rest of it's just holding the garnets in place, the other particles. And those garnets are 5 to 15 micron in size, and they take up 40% of the stone. So the other particles are like 60%. And those garnets are smaller, but they're a little sharper than the garnets in the Belgian Blue. But at 5 to 15 microns, when they're in the stone, when they're set in the stone, they are very high grit. As soon as they come off into a slurry, those stones bite very deep, and I mean, I'm sorry, those garnets bite very deep, and they make deep scratches. And what I was noticing is that when I was using this, I could see the scratches being put in the blade. And with the Belgian blue, I would notice that it'd start to polish and get like mirror. And I'm like, this is supposed to be this is supposed to be a lower grit, a more aggressive stone, yet it's polishing further than the stone that's supposed to be a higher grit. So what I found was that these, in the Belgian blue, the garnets are 10 to 25 micron. They're bigger garnet. They're bigger in size particles. They're bigger. But in saying that, they're more round. They're not as sharp as the smaller particles of the Coticule. This gets really complicated, guys. So those bigger particles roll over the surface, and they actually polish more than the smaller particles in the Coticule. So, and they only take up 25% of the stone. So there are a lot less of them. They're just bigger particles. So you're not really, nothing ever suggests that you should use just water on this stone, on the Belgian blue. Like, everything says don't use just water, because it's kind of too aggressive without, it's just not right to use it with just water. You want to get the slurry. You got to get the slurry with this, and it actually cuts. I mean, it polishes amazingly, and cuts well as well. But the Coticule, you use it with a slurry, and it's great from the 1500. I go from the 1500 to the Coticule, and it takes the 1500 scratches out great, and gets the blade to a really excellent keenness. Then I moved to the Belgian blue, and the Belgian blue just almost gets it mirror. Like, once you're done with this stone, you pretty much got a mirror edge. It's right there. And what I noticed is you could go back to the Coticule and use just water, but you also could start putting scratches back in, is what I noticed. And I guess I gotta figure out how to do that without putting scratches back in by going back to it. Because you gotta have no slurry, absolutely no slurry. You're just sliding it with water and using the stone, the particles in the stone. After that, I go to a Gritomatic strop, which I got these strops. I got a bunch of them because they're a lot cheaper than the KME strop, but they are just leather, rawhide, cow leather, and it's not as good as the kangaroo, but it works. And I'm putting, I feel like I'm putting stuff on it. I'm putting a compound on it anyways. What does it matter, as long as it's a good, solid surface? I could use wood, Then I go to a 1 micron. I go 3 micron with a Tormek compound, and then 1 micron diamond compound from, what is that from? That's from, actually Gritomatic. Yeah, Gritomatic. And this is with a 0.5 green compound, so just a chromium oxide. And that's actually on the KME leather strop, the kangaroo leather strop, which I tore up, mind you, because that was the first strop I got. And you don't realize when you're picking up how careful you have to be. You have to be really careful as you're picking up. As you come down with the strop, you got to make sure you're picking up as you come back. And you get used to that, and you get the muscle memory of doing it. But when you first start, you're gonna go into it a little bit. It's just, you don't realize the movement you're making. You got to be really careful and slow. And I started going fast and did that. But anyways, yeah, this is gonna be longer. I know it's gonna be longer, but it's a lot going on with this. And then the last but not least, this is the 0.25 micron diamond compound and on a Gritomatic leather strop. I do have some compounds, diamond compounds now that I need to put onto some strops for this system, but I either need to clean some of these strops off and put the diamond compound on them, or get more strops, but I haven't done that yet. So yeah, I'm probably just gonna get some more Gritomatic strops, to be honest. And yeah, my program works great. I get mirror edges. I got a mirror edge on this 20 CV. I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see it, but yeah, that's a mirror edge on this guy, and used it a lot and had great results. Amazing edges coming off of this with this M4 20 CV. I mean, S110. I've sharpened a lot of super steels on this, and I've had no troubles. It's been very easy and time consuming, yeah. And that's the one of the cons I'll say is, you know, just having to move it back and forth. When you're hand sharpening, you can switch very easily, and you know, switch hands. However you're gonna do it, you can do it much quicker. It's much faster to hand sharpen, but that's, you know, if you're good, it's much faster. If you're at all faltering in your angle, you're gonna make more work for yourself, and it just, you know, it ends up taking longer if you're not good. But in saying that, I'm getting better at hand sharpening. I'm still going to use this system even if I get amazing at hand sharpening, because it's the consistency, you know, just that execution, that exactness of it. It's just excellent. I love that about it, and it fits my personality. So I do love this system. I like the Wicked Edge too, being able to do it at the same time, but it's expensive. Another downside to this system, I'll say, is the strokes are short. I noticed like the Edge Pro has a longer stone. This has a short stone. So sometimes if you have a longer blade, you can't get like one stroke. You got to do like, you know, 2 strokes to get the whole blade. So yeah, you know, those are some downsides. You can't get a low, because of this clamp. Can't get a very low angle sometimes on some shorter blades, like something like the 940. It's got a short blade, so to get that angle, it's not as good as some other systems, you know. But in saying that, I'd say for the price, it's amazing. Like, you get good angles. I don't really need to get you know, insane angles on every knife. I am using these knives, and I mean, I don't need to get a 13-degree angle or anything like that. I like a 17 is just fine for me on most knives, and this gets even lower than that on a lot of knives, because you know, a broader blade means that you can get a lower angle. I think I got like a 15 on some of my Spydercos, and even lower probably. But yeah, it's great system. And the short strokes, it's fine. You know, like I said, the base is just a tad bit loose, which it's not that much at all. It's just a little bit. But when you put your hand on it and hold it, it really is nice and sturdy, you know? It's not going anywhere. What's great is how sturdy your knife is in here. These clamps are great. Everything seems to be nice and sturdy. Everything's made excellent. It's a great system. It's great all around. I got very few complaints, and my complaints are, you know, they're being super critical of something that they're probably just having to do that to make the product the price it is. But yeah, I'm super happy with it. Do want to try some other ways to get to my edge. Like, I'd love to get the Chaucera Waterstones, but I don't know, with my super steels, it doesn't seem like the right idea. And I would go the KME strops, but those are expensive. I do want to do that though. And the lapping films, I don't know. I'm not really into it. I'd rather do the strops than the lapping films, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, my overall impressions of this system are great. And if for those of you out there that are looking at this just for the Gritomatics, these Belgian stones, to find out about these, let me know if you think I should do another video on that, because what I have found on them is it's important because it's tricky. These are very tricky stones, and I'm finding there's so many idiosyncrasies with the stones, and the better you get with them, the sharper you can get the knife, the better the mirror polish. Also, using these, even the diamond stones, you start to learn what stones you have to spend more time with, and making sure that you get rid of the grip before it scratches to get a better mirror polish at the end. You know, you're gonna get better mirror polish if you're paying attention and making sure you get all those scratches out. So, yeah. Alright guys, I don't want to ramble on too much about this. I do want to say I love the system. I recommend it for people that have a lot of super steels, or you're using a lot of your knives a lot, you know, and you need to sharpen them a lot. If you got 8 CRMOV knives or VG10 even, just sharpen them by hand maybe, you know, or get a Lansky or something cheaper. It's not as critical, and I think you can get away with a lot less with those steels. Hand sharpening them is pretty easy, and you can strop them back really easily. So yeah, I mean, you can just strop those steels almost and keep them pretty sharp. But yeah, you're gonna have to do it a lot, and this makes mirror edges that last a really long time on super steels that, you know, it takes a little longer, but it's just a great system and makes perfect edges. You got to work on your tips though. All right, well, thanks a lot guys, and have a great day. Let me know if you want a more in-depth conversation about the Coticule and Belgian blue, or even the system in general if you want. I had the one I did before was me using it and showing you, but it just was so long, so this is why I did it this way. Yeah, thanks a lot guys. Have a great day, and you will see me soon.